In this video, I'm going to be talking about the PTE question retell lecture. I'll let you know how it works and I'll provide some key strategies. This question type occurs in the writing and speaking sections of the exam. However, it contributes to your listening and speaking score. So what happens in this part of the exam? Well, like the name says, you listen to a lecture and then you retell what you've heard. So the lecture might be 90 seconds to 120 seconds approximately. And then you have 10 seconds to pause and get ready, and then 40 seconds to speak and to summarize what you have heard. This item type might occur 3 or 4 times in the exam, and it contributes to the following enabling skills: oral fluency, pronunciation, and content. So let's talk a little bit about some strategies. Well, a lot of students get nervous with this one because, like describe image, we're not given anything to read. We have to improvise our content. Now, we listen to a lecture and we have to determine what are the main points and what are the less important points. That should be fairly easy. Most of the time, the lecture will indicate early on what the main theme is, and then you want to identify 2 or 3 supporting points. Don't worry about examples from the lecture. If the lecture is providing examples, you don't have time for them in your short 40-second response. But the computer is looking for vocabulary that occurred in the lecture to be fed back to it by you in your speaking sample. So listen carefully for collocations. That's 2 words that work well together, like say environmental damage or global warming. If you hear those kind of collocations in the lecture, then that's a clue that you should be giving them back to the computer in your own speaking sample. Memorize certain linking phrases or linking expressions to help give yourself some structure. You can memorize these before you come into the exam. So no matter what lecture you hear, you'll be able to have some strategies for linking expressions. You might begin with something like, the lecture talks about, but you don't have to. You could just get straight to the point. And then you can use linking expressions like, the first main point is, or the second main point, or however, or on the other hand, or in conclusion. So that's the linking expressions, but separately, we also need good content or descriptive vocabulary. And that's what I was referring to earlier. The vocabulary that you heard in the lecture, those key collocations, you now need to return them to the computer. So by memorizing some linking expressions and then writing down in your note-taking as you listen to the lecture some content vocabulary, you can be confident with content so that you focus on fluency, or as I like to say, CCFF. Confident with content so you can focus on fluency. What do I mean by that? Well, too many students get trapped because they're anxious about whether they're saying the right thing. If you've practiced before the exam, then that will start to come to you more and more naturally. That way your mind in the exam, in this item type, won't be distracted by what to talk about, and you'll be able to focus all your energy on making sure that you have really strong fluency. I've been speaking about fluency in all the videos in this series. It means intonation, the way the voice goes up and down, the way you emphasize certain words. So to use the collocation I mentioned earlier, environmental damage, I could say, we must consider environmental damage. So I'm emphasizing the adjective, or the very harmful effects of global warming. I'm emphasizing the adjective global, okay? The computer will detect that and score you higher in fluency. We also need connected speech, which means the way words flow into each other in a natural way. And of course, the final thing is pronunciation. Make sure you hit the endings of words and you speak clearly. Practice with a dictation app before the exam. Of course, you can't have the app on your phone with you in the exam, but you can practice with one by downloading it off the App Store on your Android or iPhone. in order to have plenty of practice to identify words that you are incorrectly pronouncing. You'll start to see a pattern. If you keep incorrectly pronouncing some words, you'll start to see that maybe they've got something in common, like you're missing the S on the end of a word or something like that. So use those pre-exam strategies, and then when you're in the exam, make sure that you are confident with the content so that you can focus on fluency to do well in retail lecture.